To most listeners, radio programming can sound pretty random. Music, imaging, and ads all seem to run together. But every radio format, talk and music alike, have carefully crafted hourly templates or diagrams illustrating where each programming element appears in that hour. This is called a format clock. This is what shows where certain songs are to be played, where stop sets are placed, where imaging is to air, and where certain live breaks are to be performed. The format clock is designed to rotate familiar hit songs and to maximize time spent listening. A format clock is deliberately planned to ensure the effective presentation of on air ingredients and to create the most favorable image. A format clock is subject to change for specific hours and day parts. For example, a station will offer more news, weather, traffic, and time checks with less music during morning and afternoon drive times when the majority of listeners are in the car, and less talk with more music during the midday and evening while most listeners are at the office or at home. The next two slides are examples of what a format clock looks like for NPR's Morning Edition, a news talk format, and what one might look like for a music station. The talk radio example shows where each feature is to be aired. The hour begins with a billboard, which is a 1 minute promo of what will be talked about in the hour, followed by a 5 minute newscast, a 19-second funding credit, and a 1 minute and 29-second music bed, over which the local announcer will perform a live break before the first segment of the show that begins at 7 minutes and 30 seconds into the hour. We'll talk more about the different song categories you see in this circular wheel example of a format clock and why they are in certain places in a moment, but you'll see how this hour is laid out and where the stop sets are located. The example on your lecture guide is a linear illustration that includes where imaging airs and live breaks are to be performed. So, why do radio stations place their stop sets at certain places? Well, primarily because of quarter hour maintenance. Stop set placement usually occurs away from the quarter hours like 15, 30, 45, and the top of the hour because rating surveys count listeners each quarter hour if they are tuned in for at least 5 minutes. And when do most listeners change stations? When they hear commercials. So, in this example, let's say two stop sets were at 15 and 45, and an average listener began listening at 5 after the hour. They would most likely stop listening when the commercials begin at 15, totaling 10 minutes and resulting in the station getting ratings credit for the first quarter hour. By placing the stop sets away from the quarter hours at 20 and 50, now if that listener stops listening at 20, the station gets credit for the first quarter and the second because they listened across two quarter hours for a total of 15 minutes. Translated to ratings, the station would be credited for 30 minutes of listening time. Ideally, the station would hope to catch the listener after the last stop set and before the top of the next hour, say at 55, and keep them listening until the stop set at 20 after the next hour. The station would then receive ratings credit for the fourth, first, and second quarters for 45 minutes worth of credit in that optimal scenario. The quarter hours are usually swept with hit records to give a station the best ratings advantage as well. Stations use other strategies to improve their quarter hour maintenance, like commercial free hours and contests. Some stop set placement decisions are based on competing stations as well. For instance, two competing country stations may choose to go head to head by airing their commercials at the same time, or they may opt to counter program the other station and air popular hits while the other is in a stop set.